everyone, welcome to Rowdy Book Club. My name is Shannon, my pronouns are she and her, and I am one of the co-hosts.
Hi, my name is Michael, my pronouns are he, him, and I am your other co-host.
And we are looking at each other.
And we're looking into each other's eyes. I feel so uncomfortable right now.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, Shannon's in Utah.
I'm in Utah. I'm here. I'm queer. We're recording a podcast.
We're here and we are queer and we're not in a closet this time.
We're not in a closet.
However,
we're in a weird room.
We're in a weird room and it's dark and there's things kind of like a closet.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. It's got a vibe.
Shannon, how are you?
I am doing well.
It's weird because so Shannon's here in Utah. We just had like a very long life update. Yeah. So now you have to do that for our listeners.
I have to pretend. Yeah, no, things are good. I'm really busy. But exciting new things are happening in my life that will be revealed at a date.
You're still being mysterious?
I'm still being mysterious for reasons that I explained to you earlier.
Yeah.
How are you, Michael?
I'm good. I don't think I have any life updates. I'm not mysterious.
Cool.
I just am, working. We're finishing up the year.
Yeah.
Wait, people will listen to this on the last day of December.
Last day of December. So it will be... Tomorrow will be the new year if you listen to this right when it comes out, which probably doesn't happen very much.
So, Happy New Year, everyone. It's 2022.
The twoiest of years.
Which I don't like saying it.
Oh,
like,
really?
2021 sounds nice. 2022. This
2022. 2022.
I don't know.
I haven't practiced saying it very much. So.
Sonically, I don't think it's interesting. Like there's it's boring.
How can we make 2022 sexy?
Yeah, because essentially we're like 2020. We made that sexy instead of saying 2020.
Yeah, which was too bad because 2020
it was terrible.
Was a bad year.
And like 2021, that's sexy, but 2022, now we've already been saying like 20 and then the number, so one, it's boring that way, and there's also just a bunch of twos, so it's boring. So how can we spice up 2022?
Let's just start saying 222. 222.
2022.
Yeah, nope. that's an improvement.
Nope, that's worse.
20.
What are you saying?
Thought. I don't know. Well, because sometimes people call the 2000s, like from between the year 2000 and 2009, the aughts.
Why?
Because aught is a way you can say zero, I guess, sometimes. But I feel like I've only ever heard it in that context. Like, because it's like, you got the 10s, the teens, the 20s, the 30s. And I guess to have like a word for that for the 2000s that isn't the 2000s, people will sometimes say the aughts.
So you say 20 aught, or do you say 2 aught? 2.
I guess you would say 20. Well, I guess if you're saying 2006, you'd say 2006. So 2022. That's not better.
This is just a bunch of nothing.
Okay, you know what? People write in, how would you improve 2022?
Yes, please let us know.
Yeah.
Do you have any like cool things you want to things that you love? Yeah, recommendations.
My recommendations are actually going to be integral into our discussion of this book.
Okay.
So I'm going to wait until they come in there.
Okay.
Do you have any recommendations?
I am just obsessed with The Witcher right now.
The game or the show?
The show. I've never played the game.
Okay.
So, do you know anything about either?
I know that the beefcake is in it. What's his name?
Henry.
No,
Cavill. Harry? No, it's Henry.
It's Henry Cavill.
Gosh, what happened? Henry Cavill, yeah.
Yeah. I know he's in it and he's blonde and he kills people.
He has white silver hair.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is your dream hair.
Which is my dream hair. Literally,
You're just projecting onto him.
Currently attempting to grow my hair out.
Yes!
So that I can make it white.
Yes.
We'll see if I ever do that. No, I just really like The Witcher. I didn't watch it for the longest time because I was like, it's TVMA and there's violence and gore and I don't like that. And then I was like, screw it, whatever. And I knew that there was like a ton of boobies in it.
Yeah.
There are a lot of boobies in it. But
is there any D?
Doesn't faze me. No, and here's the thing. I was like, this is sexist. And I'm not going to pretend that it's not because there are a lot of boobies in it. But they also do show a lot of naked men.
But not the D?
No, you also don't see, like, you'll see naked women, like, walking around the background, but, like, they don't have, like, a dingle-dangle, so you can't just, like, see it, It's not like you see, like...
Sure.
There's no, like, frontal nudity.
Okay.
And they also do take a lot of chances to let you see Henry shirtless.
Well, yeah, that's like the point of him.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, you know what? Like, they're objectifying him and objectifying women. So.
And that's what I call equality.
Equality, yeah.
Heck
so,
yeah.
I just like The Witcher. It's good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
It has, like, really high production value. I'm, like, impressed. So.
Well, I mean, Netflix. I feel like Netflix is the only one making anything good anymore.
Yeah.
I say with a lot of bias since I work on shows on Netflix. But... yeah. Cool. Yeah. Should we get into this book?
Let's get into this book.
Wow. This something about being in person. I'm like, we are just like, it's go time.
It does feel go time. I also feel extremely warm.
Oh, yeah. It's warm in here.
I'm going to take this off.
Okay, take that off. Yeah. Also because we're both standing. Normally we're sitting. Or I'm normally sitting. I don't know about you.
I'm normally kneeling.
No.
Like prayer position.
You're prostrating yourself.
Yeah, and it's always uncomfortable. So, yeah, let's talk about this book.
Oh, okay. So the book that we read this month was called The Charmed Wife. Took me a second there.
Yeah. I don't know why it's so hard for me to remember the title of this book.
Well, because I'm just like, it's the Cinderella book. That's what I refer to it as.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's The Charmed Wife by Olga Grushin. I didn't look up if that's how you say it or not, which I should have done, but I didn't.
I don't know.
Nah, okay. So sorry, Olga, if I'm saying your name wrong. Okay, so I'm going to summarize it, and I took notes this time because I was like, there's kind of a lot going on. It's not like the the weird wolf book that we read last time where I was like, I can't even. Okay, so The Charmed Wife starts with Cinderella, who has been married to Prince Charming for 13 and a half years, and she's decided that she's done with it. And she wants to kill him because she thinks that's the only way out. And so she makes a deal with a witch lady, to kill him, do a spell to kill him. And part of the reason why she wants to kill him will be revealed because the first half of the book is kind of told mostly in flashback form. And it's like as they're doing the spell to do the witch thing. So she goes and she finds the witch, and then they're doing the spell, and it's like she has to like put his hair in the potions, and each hair represents a year of their marriage. And so like she'll drop a hair in, and then we'll like see how their year of marriage was. And it's like, the first year is like great, and they just like love each other, and it's like so perfect. It's everything that you expect. And then, you drop a few more in, and it's like, oh, and then I got pregnant, and I was really sick, and I was, like, stuck in bed all day, and, like, I didn't see him as much, and, he was, like, doing a weird thing, but, like, it's not a big deal, and then somewhere, as they're doing this, the fairy godmother shows up, and she's like, no, stop, don't do a murder, stop it, I'm trying to protect you, and don't do murder. And so then, but then she, like, does not do very much to stop. She's just, like, it's like we'll see a flashback and then we'll cut back and then we'll get like everyone's commentary on what they just saw, which is kind of fun. And then it turns out as we're watching it that Roland, that's the prince, has been cheating on our girl Cinderella with basically anyone assigned female at birth who like has a pulse. Yeah. So that's
literally.
Yeah, it's kind of like, all right. So yeah, so he is just doing the dang thing with everyone. And that's not great. And then Cinderella is like, oh no, I think he's cursed, so I'm gonna try to like break the curse. And she like goes off on these like weird adventures, and she's like trying to like make a weird magic shirt. And also she like dabbles in like fantasy prescription drug addiction for a little bit. And then she like kind of
potion addiction.
Yeah. And then she like decides to cheat on the prince also with some other guy who was like a servant or something, and she's like, you really loved me all along. And then it's like right when she's like about to like start doing it with him or something, then the like guards come in and they're like, the king just died, because it's Prince Charming and it's his dad is the king. And so then it's like when the king has died, I don't know why she decides this is the time to do this, but then she like bursts in on like her grieving husband, and she's like, you've never loved me and you're cheating on me with everyone. And he's like, really, we're doing this right now? Yeah. And like, to be honest, I'm like, yeah, like that part I was like, yeah, I get all of his anger. Yeah, I was like, this is why did you do this? Yeah. So yeah. And then what happens after that? It's just like they have this big confrontation, and then I feel like then we just like cut to the present time where she's just like, I'm over it, I'm gonna murder you now. Yeah. Okay, yeah. And so that's the first half of the book. Second half of the book, she like has like one little half of a hair to throw in, and then she just like suddenly gets cold feet, and then she just like runs into the woods.
Yeah.
And then she, like, has a magical adventure in the woods where she's just, like, running around, and she, like, runs into, like, a dryad or something who, like...
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, like, offers her this weird challenge, and it's like, oh, if you go down this road, then this will happen. If you go on the other road, this other thing will happen. She's like, well, what if I go right into the bushes? And she's like, I don't know. And then she just goes into the bushes. And then she goes to her stepsister's house, and then the prince is like, you have to come back, and if you don't come back in 3 months, then I'll divorce you or something, but then I'm gonna get everything in the divorce or something. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, goes and is like, I'm gonna be a housekeeper. And so then she starts doing that, and then some of that kind of goes wrong, and then suddenly in the last like 25% of the book, it suddenly shifts, and now we are in the modern day. Mm-hmm. Now it's like New York City, and it turns out that like her wicked evil stepmother was actually just her normal mom who ran a hotel, and Cinderella just had to like work there. And then her evil stepsisters are actually just her normal sisters who are just like fine and normal. And then and then she's like, oh no, how, this divorce, oh no, how will I get the children back? Which, because did you know that she had children? You barely know because they're barely in it, but all right. So she's like, I have to get my children from the divorce. And then the husband is like, no, you're not getting anything. And also, I'm super rich and I have a bunch of lawyers who, you know, you're going to get owned in this divorce trial. Do they do trials in divorce? Is that even a thing?
I don't know anything about it.
Okay, I don't either. Yeah, so, and then she's like, oh no, and then she's like drinking some wine with her sisters, and then they're like, oh yeah, like the reason I never liked your husband was because he like tried to sexually assault me, or like tried to feel me up or something, and I thought it was gross, but I didn't say anything about it until
like,
right now.
Like, help a sister out, like your literal sister. Anyway. Yeah,
and then suddenly it's like, oh, because he tried to feel you guys up, that means when we go to the trial, we'll win now. And so then he like decides to not go to trial and just gives her what she wants. And then she gets the kids in the divorce. And that's the end.
Yep.
And then there's also a subplot with like these magical mice who just kind of show up sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's like the mice somehow did the transition magically from the fantasy world to the real world. Did not fully understand what was going on there, to be honest.
Yeah, it kind of, there's a part at the end where it's like, I feel like they do this a lot in movies where you're like, oh, this thing that seemed magical wasn't magical. It was all a dream. And then something magical does happen to like, was it a dream?
Yeah.
Was it real? And you're like, no, like, in my opinion, the thing about this that made it good was that it wasn't magical. Like it was all kind of psychological, weird coping.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
In my opinion.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, I actually had the opposite opinion where I was like, you should have committed to the bit and just been like, we are doing this in a fantasy line. Because to me, it felt like it got to a certain point in the story and then she was like, oh, I don't know how to resolve this in a fairy tale way. Yeah. So let's just like randomly move it into the real world and solve it there. Mm-hmm. Which is a choice. And I think that would have been fine if she had that be more of a thing in the first 75%. Like there's a couple of times where there's like kind of brief like mentions of like, oh, like what if the story actually went this other way? And like, so it wasn't completely out of nowhere, but I was kind of like, okay, no, I think you should have done more to like establish this throughout the story. And then I would have been okay with it. But as it was, I was kind of like, oh, okay. And the other thing with that was that because it's like, oh, now we're in real life. And there's a few places where it's like, oh, the witch is actually a lawyer. And the fairy godmother is actually a therapist. And there's kind of like, you know, you can connect these lines. And then suddenly I'm like, some of the fantasy things, I'm like, okay, but that like,
didn't make
what is the real world corollary for that? Like the lawyer / witch's story about how she was like, in the fantasy world, she was like with this guy. And then he was like a serial killer. And then she beats him by killing him. I'm like, okay, so how did that happen in real life?
Yeah.
And how is she not in prison? Or like what like how, because like
she like slits his throat.
Yeah, and just like leaves him for dead, I feel like. And then she's like, and I realized that I shouldn't be weird like this guy. The end. And I was like, what? And in a fairy tale context, you're like, sure, whatever. But then in the real world, you're like,
wait a second. You're a lawyer.
like, exactly.
How are you practicing law? You're a murderer. Yeah, I agree. I felt like as the story progressed, there were little things that I was like, this doesn't seem like, this doesn't make sense time period wise. Like, like at one point she talks about how she like sees the kids and they like show her pictures of stuff. And I'm like, how would they show you a picture? And then they, like, when she's cleaning the, like, brothel, the, like, whorehouse.
Yeah.
And she talks about, like, their, like, haircuts and, like, she describes the home. And I'm like, she's describing...
Kind of like 1920s.
She's describing, like, a modern home, not, like, a fantasy world. And then, so, like, when they made that, like, oh, actually, this was all kind of, like, a delusion. And this is, like, a thing that's happening, like, current day. I was like, oh, okay, I see how... to me, it felt like Olga was trying to do something, like, very cinematic, where you have, like, you know, those movies where you're like, I don't know what's real to this character.
Yeah.
And then in the end, you're
kind of like Pan's Labyrinth a little bit.
Yeah, and then in the end, it's like this big reveal of, like, oh, this was, like, her delusion.
Yeah.
You know, where I'm like... So I understood what she was doing, but you're right. It was kind of like there were some bits that were like unresolved.
Yeah, or like, actually, I remember I was talking to my husband about this as I was reading it, and I was kind of like, I could kind of see where she was going with this, where I was like, oh, it's either psychological or it's like literal. And I was like, depending on how this pans out will depend on how I will determine how I feel about this, because it's like, if it turns out like, oh, it was all just a dream, like, I personally think that's really dumb. Like, the ending of Wizard of Oz. It's kind of like a cop-out. Yeah, exactly. And so, like, or it's like one of those things, like, to use the example of Pan's Labyrinth, that movie's really good because it's like, either interpretation where, like, all of it literally happened as the, like, literal real world thing, and, like, all the labyrinth and magical stuff was just, like, the girl's imagination. Like, it still works as an interesting, compelling story. Yeah. And, like, and then vice versa, where it's like, oh, all this magical stuff was real. Like, that also still works as an interesting, compelling story. And it's kind of left up to you as the viewer to decide what you think really happened. And I think that works really well, where, like, I feel like this book where it's like, I don't know, I feel like if it was like, oh, it was all in her head and she just was, like, crazy, I'm kind of like, that to me is dissatisfying. Yeah. But if it literally happened where it's like, oh, she was literally in a fantasy world and then the mice did magic and now she's in New York City and she doesn't realize it, like, that to me is more interesting. Okay, yeah, so, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So I guess we have, like, slightly differing opinions, but... Yeah.
I will say, so I have been in a... I hate saying toxic relationship because I feel like it's said so much that it doesn't, like, mean anything anymore. Yeah, but that's fair. But I was in a, like, I will say, like, psychologically manipulated relationship, and it was so bad, it was to the point where, like, I felt crazy. Yeah. When I was in this relationship. And I was gaslit by this person who frequently would say things like, you're acting crazy, like, you're being crazy. That, like, to me, this story, I'm like, this is how someone who's been gaslit, who's in a terrible, destructive, manipulative relationship might somehow, like, break and cope mentally with this. Yeah. So I liked it from that standpoint. And I mean, we know that she, like, used prescription drugs and stuff like that, or potions or whatever. Yeah. So, like, she's had a history of, you know...
some mental illness going on.
Yeah, some mental illness, again, probably caused by her terrible relationship.
Sure.
So,
yeah. And that's fair. I think that's totally fair that that's your takeaway. I do want to talk about that, though, like, the, like, prescription drug / pill addiction. Yeah. That, like, is a thing, is broader than this book. And I think in this book it was okay, but, like, I will say that, like, there seems to be, or at least I personally have encountered a lot of, like, literature or, like, writing. I don't know. What's the difference between literature and writing? I don't know. Books and stuff where prescription drugs really are kind of made out as the bad guy. Yeah. And I don't love that. Like, I do think there can be total, like, prescription drug abuse is totally real and it's bad. But I remember when I was in, like, high school, I read some random, like, teen drama book about this kid who was, like, definitely super mentally ill. I think he was, like, schizophrenic, maybe? I don't know. It's been a while. And then it turns out, like, oh, no, he has schizophrenia and all this stuff that's been happening in the book. It's because he's schizophrenic and we're going to put him on this medication. And then he gets on this medication and it, like, ruins his life and he's super depressed and he's, like, so it's just turns into it's really villainized medication. It. And then it was, like, and then he burned his house down. And I was, like, and so as a high schooler, I was, like, oh, if you take, like, like antipsychotics or like antidepressants or whatever, like any pill that is for your mental health, it's like that's what's going to happen to you. You're just going to like become a muted person. It's not going to help you. It's just going to make you worse. Which is not true. And so like that's why, and I guess this is more me talking about this other book, but like I guess I saw this connection where it's like, oh, like she goes to the therapist and she's like, oh, I'm having this problem, and the therapist is like, oh, well, just take some drugs, whatever. And it's like, that has not been my therapy experience, and I don't think that's very many people's therapy experiences. And also, like, if you can get like on the correct prescription that you need, it can help you a lot. And so like I feel like that needs to be said. It kind of was said because they were like, oh, you were abusing it, like you weren't using it the way it was prescribed. And it's like, yeah, but like, I don't know. So that's my little tangent on that. It was an opinion that I had. Yeah. Guys, take your meds if you need them.
Yeah. No, 100%. And yeah, how do I say this? I am 100% pro medication.
Yeah.
To me, medication is like wearing glasses. I wear glasses because my eyes don't work like a lot of other people's do. Like, if some part of your brain doesn't work like some other people's, please take medication.
Yep.
Sometimes, though, you are in a relationship. This, again, happened to me when I was in this relationship where I felt crazy and was told by the person I was in a relationship and my family at the time, they were like, maybe you could get some like anxiety medications and stuff like that. So I went to my therapist who, like, when I bring it up and say, hey, I'm super anxious all the time and, you know, angry all the time, they're like, oh yeah, maybe this could help.
Yeah.
Not knowing that like the real problem is this person that's in your life.
Right.
So that's, again, how I see her thing, where like some medications when taken can help, but like if there is underlying trauma that's causing, you know, your anxiety or whatever, like you need to fix that first.
Yeah.
So
agree. I completely agree. Yeah.
So did you have more summary, or are we?
No. I'm done.
So overall, what is your standpoint? Do you like the book? Would you recommend it to people?
Okay. Well, I mean, that's getting, I feel like we're jumping to the end all of a sudden.
Well, okay. Do I need to go into?
Oh yeah. Give us the background.
Okay. So let me read about Olga Grushin, which, again, I don't know if I'm saying this correct or not. So she was born in Moscow. Oh, cool. She's Russian. And lived there until she was about 18 and then moved to the U.S. She has dual citizenship.
Nice.
I believe she still lives here. She has written, she's written 4 other books. The Dream Life of Sukhanov. The Line, 40 Rooms, and then The Charmed Wife. She releases a new book like every 6 years. So maybe... Okay. And I didn't know this, but The Charmed Wife came out this year.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
So maybe in 2027, we'll have another book.
Yay.
So, yeah, there's not much on her other than she's Russian, she lives here. She worked as an interpreter for Jimmy Carter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Wait, how old is she?
She graduated Moscow State University. She graduated Emory University in 1993. So when I was 1, she graduated college. So cool. she's older. Cool. And that's pretty much all there is to it. It looks like she's received a lot of awards for the other 3 books that she's written. So it seems like people really like her work. The first book that she wrote, the one that I'm going to butcher, The Dream Life of Sukhanov, people praised because it says the novel is about an artist turned party official working for the communist media as an art critic, and people really liked, her commentary, I guess, on the communist side of that. I don't know.
Cool.
So I don't know. Yeah, if you liked this one, if you might want to check out her other works, but other than that, there's not a whole lot on her.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Do you have other things that you want to get rowdy about? I definitely have things I want to get rowdy about. I'm just like bouncing, by the way.
Okay, here's what I will say. Yeah, I'm like so hot.
Why is this like the curse? Every time we record, for me anyway, I'm always like hot in the closet. I'm just like sweltering.
I liked it overall, and especially coming from the last book that we read.
Yeah, the bar was really low.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, something that I can actually consume and not like want to rip my ears off. I really liked. I even like to my coworkers and stuff. They know I do this podcast. I was like, hey, like here's an interesting take on Cinderella, because when you said it was Cinderella, I was like, again, like there are so many so many Cinderella things out there.
For sure.
So I liked that it was a take on it. I overall liked the story. I would recommend it to someone. Is it like my favorite thing? No. But yeah. I can't think of anything I particularly want to get like rowdy about, but you get rowdy and then I'm sure it will probably jog my memory.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, yeah, and I will say too, like, I also enjoyed listening to this book. It's like audiobook. Like, as I was listening to it, I was like, yeah, like it's well written. It's like I liked like it's very it's not literary. Actually, well, it is literary, but have you heard the term upmarket? Do you know what that is? Okay, so the whole time I was reading this book, I was like, this is an upmarket book. So there's like, I don't know a ton about this, but my husband, who's a writer, he knows. He's told me about this because it's relevant to his life. And so there's kind of these different categories of books that like publishers are looking for. And I'm like swallowing so much and I feel like it's getting picked up, but I'm like, every time I edit this podcast, I'm like, ugh, why do I swallow so much and why is it so loud and why does it sound so awful? And maybe it's one of those things that it's just because it's like me doing it. I hate it. Anyway, okay, so there's like these categories of like, I don't even know how to call it, like classiness or something of like, like level of fanciness, I feel like. And so like the top of that is what's like called literary fiction. And so that's like the really fancy, like Jonathan Safran Foer, who's the guy that wrote that book? There's so many.
I don't even know what you're saying.
Jonathan Franzen, I think. Do you recognize that? Okay, he's like it's like these guys, I feel like it's very like male dominated.
Cool.
Right?
Amazing.
Yeah. Love that for us as a society. Or at least like the prominent ones that because I don't really read literary fiction, but it's like, it's kind of like the fancier, like, oh, like it's not just like I'm telling a story, but I'm like using the language
it's
to
like bougie.
Yeah, it's kind of bougie.
Okay.
And it's like fancy. And so that's like the top of the fanciness is literary. And then like at the bottom, there's what's called commercial fiction, which is honestly like such a broad category, but
like
it's
Twilight.
Sure. I mean, it's everything from beach reads to chick lit to like genre fiction.
Okay.
Because for some reason in the publishing world, sci-fi and fantasy, which are like very successful and everyone loves it, are like really like from what I hear is kind of like every like in the publishing world they're kind of like, oh, you write genre, like it seems like it's kind of looked down
That's
upon.
hilarious because it's like, do you want your stuff to be made into a movie? Like,
right, you're gonna make so much money off this.
Do you want to make a lot of money?
Yeah.
Do you want to be popular? Like, and then they're like, oh, tut, you're not cool enough.
Yeah, so I don't know what that's about, but
interesting.
Yeah, that's what I hear. So like commercial fiction is really broad. And then in between literary and commercial fiction is what's called upmarket.
Okay.
Which is where it's not full literary, where you're not like being all like super philosophical or like doing fancy things with the language as much. And it like has kind of more commercial components, but it's a little bit like above that or whatever.
Gotcha. You're fancy enough to get noticed by Oprah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, and I'm pretty sure without knowing that, I mean, I guess I could have looked into this somehow, but I'm pretty sure that this book is an upmarket book because like I feel like the level of writing is like a little bit more artistic and like
for sure
fancy, but like it's still like I feel like because it's kind of a fantasy, it doesn't get to be full literary, which is like, okay, whatever, that's the choice. But that was kind of the vibe I got, which I think also, I don't know, that was kind of what I was thinking where I was like, oh, this is why she didn't commit to it just being full fantasy, is because she's trying to make it be upmarket. But I don't know if that was what was going on, but that was kind of what I thought, or that was kind of the vibe I got, because I think if it had just been like full fantasy, then it would not have been considered upmarket, it would have just been commercial. So yeah. So that was my whole thought about that. I don't remember where I was going with it, but I'm gonna get rowdy.
Okay.
So here's my first thing is the first half of this book, or not even the first half, maybe like the first 25% of the book, because I was like, I know it's like a Cinderella retelling. I had so many dead dove do not eat moments. Do you know what that is?
I have no idea what you're saying.
Do you know the show Arrested Development?
Yeah.
Okay. there's a part in Arrested Development.
Yes.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. I think on the YouTube version of this, I'm gonna like cut in that little part. But for people on the pod who don't know, Arrested Development is a show. I just said that so badly. Arrested Development is a show. And there's a part in it where the main character, who has a brother who's a magician, he opens the door to the freezer and there's a bag that is labeled "Dead Dove, Do Not Eat." And he opens up the bag, then he closes it and he looks up and he's like,
I don't know what I expected.
And there were so many times in this book at the beginning where it was like, we got married and we were happy and then we weren't happy. And I was like, it was just exactly that, where I was like, yeah. And and I feel like I've read other Cinderella retellings like that, where it's like, we got married and then I realized he only liked me for my looks, or like, and it's like, okay, like this is not that creative of a premise in some ways, or I feel like it's just kind of been done a lot. But as the story progressed, though, I got away from that, although I'd also like got kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like, it was definitely less "Dead Dove, Do Not Eat," but it turned into like, oh, okay, we're doing this now?
Yeah.
Which, again, I didn't hate it. I was just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So.
There were, like, a couple points where it's just, like, dramatic, like, shift in what's going on. Like, you mentioned, like, there's the whole, like, first 75% of the book is her just, like, at this cauldron.
Yeah.
Like, reminiscing about the 13 years of her marriage.
Yeah.
And then she's like, now I'm going to run away and live with my sister in a shoe.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then that happens for a little bit. And then it's like, oh, and then another twist. Like, this is all real life and not fantasy.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Yeah. So it's very like, okay, that's happening. So, yeah, again, like, I didn't dislike it, but I was very much like, okay, what are we doing? So, so that was that. Oh, okay, now here is the thing, and I'm going to bring in one of my recommendations, is that I think what colored my perception of this book before I started listening to it is that the book that I read right before this one is a true crime novel called it's not a novel, it's a true crime nonfiction book.
Yeah.
Called Never Enough by Joe McGinnis, and it's about the milkshake murderer.
Oh, yeah, you told me to bring this up. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, let me tell you about the milkshake murderer, because this is...
I'm very intrigued.
Oh my gosh. Well, and here's the thing. This is my, like...
Listeners, this is when we become a true crime podcast.
Welcome to our... This is our, like, psyop, deep... What do you call those things where it's, like, an AR... and it's like a big premiere. Turns out this is actually a true crime podcast now.
The whole time.
The whole time it's been a true crime podcast.
Yep.
No. I will try to be as very quick about this as possible. The milkshake murderer is this woman who was an expat in Hong Kong who murdered her husband by lacing a milkshake with a bunch of sleeping pills, and then she bashed his head in with a lead statuette, and then she wrapped his body up in a rug and had the people put it in their apartment storage facility where it smelled like a dead body, and then she was immediately caught and then convicted of murder.
So she didn't do it very good.
She did it really bad. And so most of the book was not the like, oh, who did it? Because it was like...
Yeah,
know who did it. We all know who did it. And so most of the book was actually about this incredibly dysfunctional marriage where, like, to be sure, both parties were in the wrong in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And, like, it was just very, like, toxic, you know. I'm slipping under. And some of the things in this book were actually, like, really similar to the things that happened in The Charmed Wife.
And so, she was trying to kill him. She's
the milkshake murderer. So that was... so that really, like, colored my perception. Because, like, in real life where this happened, you know, like, he's super wealthy and she relies on him completely financially, and then she decides to cheat on him with this, like, guy who is, like, comes and installs a TV at their house or something, so it's, like, this lower class servant kind of guy. So, like, when that happened in this book, I was like, and, like, she definitely had some mental health issues, and, like, I feel like in The Charmed Wife, it was a little bit more, like, being, like, kind of a dickhead / like, cheating on her a bunch, but, like, I feel like, too, they didn't, like, really interact that much in the book, to be honest. No. So it's, like, yeah, he's cheating on her and that sucks, and they, like, kind of don't have a relationship, which isn't great, but, like, I don't know, there's worse things, obviously. But yeah, in the Milkshake Murderer book, the guy didn't cheat on her, but she was cheating on him. And then, yeah, anyway, that book's really good. I definitely recommend it. Never Enough by Joe McGinnis. Please listen to it. It's these people, this whole family, like, it's not just these two people. It's like his family. And then, like, she completely cuts off contact with her family because she's just, like, a crazy bee. Oh. And then, like, the kids are kind of, like, cardboard cutouts a little bit. I mean, which is fair because they're real-life children who were real children. So, like, in a nonfiction book, that's completely understandable. Yeah. But then, like, in the thing, she's like, I want to be with my children. I love my children. But, like, throughout the book, it's like she never spent any time with her kids. She didn't really like being around them except to, like, play with them when they were being cute. Yeah. But then, like, the minute they were hard to deal with, like, she would just be like, ugh, nannies, deal with it. Like, yeah, so, like, so many parallels that, like, I think that really, like, colored my view, where I wasn't like, oh, she's a victim. I was kind of like, you are also contributing to this bad marriage. Like, you are not the victim.
So I did not know about the Milkshake Murderer and this weird story, but I, like, even not having that background, I also didn't feel that way about her. I would, like...
Yeah, and I don't know, I think we're maybe not supposed to feel that way about her. Yeah. I think that's, like, kind of part of it.
I think it felt very... I mean, to me, it felt like a very real divorce, where in the end, it's, like, two people that are like, look, this marriage sucked, and it's your fault, and it's my fault, and let's, like, go our separate ways. Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, like... I 100%, like, when he gets mad, when she bursts in, like, the day his dad dies.
Yeah, and he's, like, crying, and she's like, you've been cheating on me, and he's like, oh my gosh.
Like, are we really doing this right now?
Yeah. We haven't had a conversation in 2 years, and my dad just died, and this is when we're gonna do this right now? Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and then he, like, calls her out, and he was like, you're mad that I was with other people? You were, like... emotionless and didn't even ask me about myself. Like, you didn't even care about me. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I see his point. Like, does that give you the right to cheat on someone? No. Does it give her the right to murder him? No. I'm like, you should have just got a divorce, like, or not gotten married.
You just should not have gotten married. And I guess that is kind of established at the end where it's like, she was like just kind of into it because he was like rich and hot. Yeah. And he was just into it because he had to get married before he turned a certain age. Yeah. Which... Yeah. Yeah. But this was a thing I was thinking more in the beginning of the book where I was just kind of like, she acts so powerless. Like, she's like, he's cheating on me and there's nothing I can do and I can't even say anything and I just have to be quiet and meek. And I was kind of like, why though? Yeah. Like, I feel like that wasn't established, at least at the beginning, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. And I was kind of like, well, like, what would happen if you're like, I think you're cheating on me? Like, would the whole kingdom turn against you or what? Like, I don't know. So I thought that was kind of like, I don't know. The kids are not characters.
The kids are not characters.
And so when she's like, I need my kids from the divorce, I was like, why? I was kind of like, just divorce him. Like, you do not care about these children. Like, you say that you care because, like, that's the, like, correct female response or whatever. Yeah. Like, you need to, like, work through that. Because, like, that's the whole thing with her character is that, like, she has all these expectations about what her husband should be. And then she just tries to, like, force her idea of reality onto him, but then she doesn't really learn that lesson of like, oh, I also need to evaluate like my relationship with my children, as in that I have no relationship with them. Yeah. And maybe consider that in the context of this divorce. Because she's just like, oh no, Roland can't have the children. Yeah. He'll be awful. And it's like, will he though? I mean, because he's like no better than you. Like he's no worse than you.
Yeah. And I'm like, at least he's loaded and can have a nanny to like take care of them. Right. Like that. And I know some people listening to us say that are going to be like, that's awful. But I'm like, no, 100%. I'm like, both of you are uninvolved in your children's lives. At least let's the person with the means, the funds to take care of them, take care of them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Like with him, at least he'll get a super great education, I'm sure.
Yeah, right. And like have, again, like a nanny. Because like they're going to go live with her and she's just going to be like, I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine. And like maybe this was like
she's just going to neglect them.
She's totally going to neglect them. At least the way that she's written. And it's like you never see her spend very much time with them. And when she does, it's like very like surface level. And it's like, and maybe this is one of those things where she should have the author should have written it a little differently. Where it's like we actually see the nature of her relationship with her kids. Yeah. Because like as it is, it's kind of like, well, why do you care about these kids? Yeah. Like they're just like, I think the boy kid says like one sentence in the whole book. Like he does not like the daughter gets a little bit more development. I can't even
remember the daughter's name, and I only remember the son's name because it's the same name as the
husband. Yeah.
The only like real interaction you see her have with them is she's like, oh, I will go into their rooms at night and read them stories, but then after they're like 8, she's like, I don't do that anymore because they don't want to hear it, because I keep telling my sob story to them every night.
Yeah, I keep trying to like tell them my weird life story as a metaphor, and they're like, okay, Mom, shut up.
No, but I 100% felt the same way. I was like, I want to say to everyone listening, I am so pro-divorce. Because I used to, so coming from a very Christian upraising, it was like, you only get divorced if Satan is interfering in your life. And I'm like, no, sometimes you're in a bad marriage and it's hurting you, your spouse, and your children. Yep. It's hurting everyone. Yep. If you're listening to this and you're in a bad relationship, get a divorce.
This is our satanic promise to you. If you get a divorce and you're in a bad relationship, you'll be better off. Yeah.
So I'm like, they should have just, like, sometimes you get married and you're like, oh, crap. Yeah. I'm in a bad marriage. Just get a divorce. Or just like you were too young. And then I agree with you. I feel like it's like, oh, I have a womb. I carried this child. So it's my duty to fight to take care of them. Yeah. But I'm like, you're not going to do a good job. And it honestly, deep down, I don't think you want to do it. I'm like, deep down, you don't want to be with this husband of yours, and you don't want these kids. So get a divorce, let him take care of them, and start fresh. Like, honestly, just do you, and I think you'd be a lot happier.
Yeah, no, I completely
So this agree. Is me saying, get a divorce and abandon your children.
Oh my gosh. Well, don't abandon your children.
Don't abandon your children, but like, if someone's willing to take care of them and they have a lot of money, maybe.
Maybe. Think about it.
Think about it. Consider it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. For sure. Well, and also she's like, they can't be with him. He'll be awful to them. But it's like, we don't see that. Like, I mean, maybe he also is negligent and doesn't interact with him at all. But like, that, like, same for her. Like, also, you also, like, you know, pot calling the kettle black there, you know? Yeah. And like, I did not get any sense that he had any, like, bad feeling toward the kids at all. Like, maybe she was just like, oh, they'll be like him, like they'll have his bad personality traits, but like, Sweaty, they're gonna have his bad personality traits anyway. It's too late for that. Yeah, you know. So that bridge has been burned. Okay, let's see, look at my next thing. Oh, I will say, like, with Roland, I feel like we've had a lot of books this year of, like, terrible husbands. Yeah, and like I would say...
everyone.
Yeah, really. Is there even... I guess the Wolf book didn't have any... Oh, I guess her dad is terrible. Does that count as the terrible husband in the book we read last... The Honey Badger book? I keep calling it the Wolf book.
No, I'm not going to consider that.
Okay.
In the same vein, because, there's been, like, several books where it's just, like, bad husband, bad husband, bad husband, bad husband.
Yeah, so I guess the Honey Badger book is the one non-bad husband book. Yeah. So, congrats to that book, I guess.
Best book of 2020.
Oh, gosh! Yeah, but I feel like on the bad husband ranking, he's not up there very high for me. Like, and by bad husband, I mean, like, the higher you are in the ranking, the worse husband you are. Yeah. Like, to me, the top is still Carter from the Vampire book.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Like, him. Yeah, like, and I don't know why. I was trying to figure this out, because, like, Roland is, like, obviously he's a terrible husband, but also, like, I don't know. I just feel like they never had a good relationship to begin with, so it wasn't, like, with Patricia and Carter, it was, like, at first it was good, but then he just kind of, like, has this slow, like, descent into being the worst husband.
He's also a psychiatrist?
Yes.
I'm like, you know better. Like, King Roland was like, you're...
Oh, yeah, he probably came from, like, a weird...
You're just, like, a rich little douche sleeping around.
Yeah.
But, like, that's kind of what you were born into.
Right. Well, yeah, and, like, I feel like in terms of their relationship, like, he's always... Like, yeah, he's constantly sleeping around, and he does not, like, have a relationship with her. They don't, like, interact very much, which is not great. But, like, I feel like he doesn't do very much actively to harm her.
Yeah, it's, like, negligent.
Yeah.
And not, like, malicious. Yeah. Where Carter was, like, malicious.
Yeah, Carter, like, freaking drugs her, and then, like...
Gaslights her,
and then uses her children as pawns against her in this, like, weird thing, and it's literally just because he didn't get a promotion at work and he blames it on her. Yeah. Like, he is a dirtbag. Yeah. And so, like, compared to him, and like, all the other terrible husbands/fathers, I was just like, Roland, like, you're nothing. Yeah. Like, I'm supposed to hate you, I guess, but you... Yeah. Better luck next time, bud. Yeah. Maybe marriage number 2, you'll figure out how to be a monster. So, yeah. But I guess that's fine. I don't know. But I guess kind of the point of it was not that he's a monster. The point is, like, oh, we're both bad people. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's kind of all I have.
Do you have a cast?
Oh! I do, sort of. And by I do, sort of, I mean I figured out who I want Meryl Streep to play.
Literally same.
Okay, can we say it on 3? Because I think we have the same. Let's do it like. Are you ready? Okay.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. The witch slash lawyer.
Yes!
Yes. Okay, let's high five.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That I'm glad that you also thought that.
We are on the same wavelength.
But what's funny is like I wasn't even like. We jokingly talk about Meryl Streep being in all the movies that we fake cast, but like I didn't even have to do it. I was just like, oh, I thought of like the witch from Into the Woods,
right?
And I was like, oh, perfect.
Well, I thought
Meryl Streep is doing this, and then I thought of her as a hot, awesome lawyer.
Oh yeah,
who, in my mind, was a lesbian. But
I mean, yeah. Well, okay, and that, you know what? Here's the thing I didn't even think about. But when she was like, "I was in love with this man," I was like, "No, you were not."
Yep.
I was like, "How dare you?"
I was like, "No, you're a lesbian."
I was like, "You are so gay. Stop."
Yeah.
And okay, and actually, let's talk about that for a second. The LGBT representation in this book was kind of weird, in my opinion.
Did we have any?
We had one transgender mouse and the sister who was a lesbian. The older stepsister.
Oh, we did have a transgender mouse.
Yeah, that was so weird. I was like,
and the older sister that was a lesbian.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and I was glad that there was at least a lesbian sister, because I was like, if all the queer representation is one transgender mouse,
yeah,
like what is that? What is that?
Yeah, is it because Olga is Russian?
I don't know.
So I think someone told me that. I could be very wrong, so I'm sorry anyone who's listening to this and I'm spinning lies about Russia. But I thought it was still like in Russia, it was still like no.
Like pretty frowned upon.
Queers are not allowed here.
Yeah, I think that's true. But
I could be lying, I don't know.
Yeah, but like even if that is true, like that doesn't mean every individual Russian is
that's true. And she's also been here since she was 18.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm just hey, Olga, just write more gay people.
Yeah.
But the sister was really cool.
I liked her. I liked her that she was like large and in charge and like
hit on a waiter when they were like.
No, the waiter hit on her. Or she was just like, I mean, she's just like a dom.
Yeah.
And she was just like, bring me wine. And she's like, oh, here's my number.
Here's my number.
Whip me, mommy.
Please,
like,
mommy.
Step on my throat, mother. Like, that was what was happening in that scene. And then like Cinderella's like, what? Like
what? A lesbian? My sister?
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like there was definitely potential for more queer characters. Like, for example, the witch who was like, why is this woman not a lesbian? As in she is, but the author doesn't know it.
Yeah. Yeah, because they even talk about how, like, she sees her as a witch and she, like, has, like, this wig on and, like, and she has, like, prosthetics and stuff. And then she sees her and she's, like, working on her own little, like, farm. She has, like, it says she has, like, boy short hair and she's wearing pants.
Yeah.
And Cinderella at the time is like, oh my gosh, she's wearing pants? What? And, like, yeah, because she's a lesbian.
Duh. Okay, oh wait, this makes me think of another thing. Is that there was a part where the fairy godmother, it's like, oh, Cinderella's like, I need more drugs! And she, like, walks in on the fairy godmother, and she's, like, been having sex with someone, and I was like, oh, it's the witch. But then it was the king. Yeah. And I was like, oh. I didn't... Yeah, it was so disappointing.
That would be such a twist.
Yeah,
because
that's what I thought.
They were all watching that from the cauldron, so they like see her remembering seeing them doing it, and they're like, what?
And they're like, look. And that's why they're like, have you thought about a divorce? Because they're divorced from each other, and they're like, we make it work. We're even like we work together professionally, and we're divorced, and it's fine. So like, you can do it too.
Yeah.
Also, that her name is actually Jane, and that was like a weird thing.
Oh yeah.
That was like so random, where they were like. It was like secret then information until the very end. And I was like, why?
Yeah, the reveal, because she's like, my name is so ugly. And then they're like, my name is Jane.
And it's like, that's a completely normal, fine name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Do you have anyone else for your cast?
Gosh, I was like trying to think of someone. I was trying to think of someone like really hot for Roland. But I don't. Who's hot?
So
I guess we could put freaking Henry Cavill in it. We were just talking about how he's hot.
Oh my gosh, we can. But I just love him so much.
Yeah, I don't think he has the right vibe. Did you know he's
actually like a big nerd?
Yes.
And I love that.
Yeah, what is he a big nerd about, though?
I don't know, but I'm like, you're a sexy nerd. Like, you have literally everything.
Yeah.
Like, you have all of the perks of being a nerd and all of the perks of being
a jock.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. Well, I did kind of think our boy Timmy Chalamet.
Oh, I was like, Timmy Turner?
Yes, clearly. Timmy Turner from Fairly Odd Parents.
Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah. But he's not... I think Roland is blonde. Isn't he? I mean, I guess that can be arranged.
Listen, they frequently talk about the color of people's hairs, and I'm about to tell you my casting.
Oh.
And I was like, middle finger to all of your hair color and all of your ethnicities, because I'm making up my own show now.
I support that, because I was like, this book is very white, but I guess if it's about rich white people, I'm like, well, yeah, I guess that's something. Yeah, hit me with it.
So for...
Oh, wait. Can I just say, my other casting, I did kind of think, and this is so predictable, and it's a sign that I only know like 4 actors in Hollywood, but I was thinking that Amy Adams could maybe be a good Cinderella.
Okay, same. But only at the very end when she was like, oh, my stepsisters are my real sisters.
Yeah.
Because she originally says she was like foreign, and that's why people like made fun of her.
That's
so
right.
I was like, oh, she's not white.
Right.
So I like in my mind picked a non-white actor, and then she was like, oh, but I am white. And
she's like, but I have my blonde hair.
Damn it.
I mean, I guess you can have blonde hair and not be white. Like, that is a thing you can do.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay, but for the King Roland.
The old king.
No. The prince. Like the prince. Her prince
Charming.
that she marries. So like they start the story, her talking about like when they first get married. So I thought of them as both young.
Yeah.
And so I thought of KJ Apa.
Who the heck is that?
KJ Apa.
Is he? Oh, wait, is that
From
Archie?
From
Oh
Riverdale.
my gosh!
Because I think he's super hot and super cute, but I also think like his face just looks like a villain. So I'm like, you would be this hot villain prince.
Sure. I can see that.
And then for Cinderella, again, I purposely picked someone not white. Great. I picked, I don't know if I'm going to say this right. Is it Gemma Chan?
Gemma Chan. I think that's how you say it.
Do you know this actress?
No.
Okay, so Gemma Chan, she's in Eternals.
Oh, I didn't see that.
But she's also in Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember?
Also did not see that.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I hear it's really good, but I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's so good. But I originally saw her in this, I think it's an Amazon original show called Humans, and she's like a robot that has like actual like AI, and she's like essentially like
basically a person, but a
robot body.
Okay, cool.
And I loved her in that. And then she was in Crazy Rich Asians, and then I had been thinking about her all month as Cinderella.
Okay.
And then I went and saw Eternals, and I didn't know she was in that.
Oh.
And she's like literally the main character, because I haven't been watching any trailers because I didn't want any spoilers. Right. And I was like, oh, here she is again. So she's like,
it's a sign.
She's very contemporary, so I thought it would fit.
Cool, like that.
For the lesbian sister, I picked Catherine Hahn.
Is she in a Marvel thing too?
She's in WandaVision. She's like the witch.
I think I've seen her from like is there like a GIF of her doing like a big wink?
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen that.
Yeah.
That.
So she's in that, but she's also in that show, Parks and Rec.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that either. See, this is why I don't know any actors, because I have only watched Star Trek.
And then we talked about Meryl Streep being the lawyer / witch.
Although the other thing, this is my other Meryl Streep casting. I think she would also be the lesbian older sister.
Yeah.
So.
But she's like a lot older.
That's true. So that doesn't work quite as well.
Yeah.
But.
And then for the fairy godmother, I picked Octavia Spencer.
Oh yeah. No, I know who that is. Yeah, that's a good pick.
Yeah.
I like that.
Just because I thought the fairy godmother was like, I don't know, kind of like cheeky at sometimes, and I just love Octavia Spencer.
Yeah, oh yeah, I do too. She's great.
I think that was and the random like beekeeper.
Oh yeah.
That Cinderella has like a weird fling makeout with.
Yeah.
Tom Holland.
Oh, but he's a baby. Okay. Also, did you know that he's British?
Yeah.
I had never heard... I thought he was American, and I saw him in some interview, and I was like...
Surprise British. There are so many surprise British people.
Yeah, there really are. Well, he has a great American accent. I never would have guessed. So, Tom, if you're listening, great job. Good on job. The American accent.
Tom, if you love our podcast.
Tom, if you love our podcast. One time I worked on a movie that you're in.
Really?
Yeah. On Onward?
Oh. I was thinking of a Marvel movie, and I was like... When did you work on a Marvel movie?
I've not worked on a Marvel movie.
That's right.
To my knowledge.
Onward. I forgot.
Yep. That's because everyone forgot that movie exists.
But it's so freaking good.
It is really good.
It's so good, and I cry every time, and it's beautiful, and the
if you have daddy issues, this movie's for you. But the downside of Onward, this is the one bad thing about it, is that it has Chris Pratt in it.
You mean Mario?
Yeah. And Garfield?
You mean sexist Mario?
Oh my gosh. This is a hate crime against Italians.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't pick an Italian actor.
I mean, honestly, just get the guy that does it for the video games. He would be great. And then everyone would be like, that's Mario.
That's Mario instead of Chris Pratt. Yeah. Because I can't imagine him, like, faking an Italian accent.
No.
And
if he does, that'll be another hate crime.
If he does, that's weird. Yep. And if he doesn't, that's weird.
You can't win.
You can't.
You can't win.
Am I going to go see it to support Sam Nielsen? Yeah. I sure am.
That's fair. That's fair.
Oh, no, I was going to explain my pick on Tom Holland because...
Oh, yeah.
I think she describes him as just like a young, very nice, sweet boy. And I'm like, that's Tom Holland.
Tom Holland has nice, just young, sweet boy energy.
Beekeeper.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
And that's it. That's my cast.
Cool. I love it.
Yeah.
I was trying so hard to, like, think of some, but again, I only know, like, 4 actors, and I was like, I've already used all of them last time. Or on the Phantom of the Opera one. That's when I, like, really... flexed my actor knowledge muscles.
Yeah.
Which are incredibly anemic. Okay, is there anything else we want to talk about, or should we start rating this book?
Oh yeah, give it a rating.
Yeah, okay, so my rating is Everyone Sucks Here.
Oh, okay.
Which is a reference to, and this is where you saw this on my computer when we first started.
Yes.
And that is a reference to the subreddit r/am I the asshole, which is a subreddit that I will explain to you now, Michael, in case anyone else has not heard of it, is a place on Reddit where people make up fake stories that they pretend are real, I'm sure there's a few real stories in there somewhere, but most of them are, like, so absurd that I'm like, this did not happen in real life. Let me read you some of the top ones right now.
Okay.
AITA for being, quote, an ungrateful, spoiled brat for the Christmas gift my husband got me. So that's one question.
Okay.
9.4 upvotes. And
wait, so these are people
send in, like, okay, this thing happened to me, and I don't know if I was...
Oh, like, am I the asshole?
Yes.
They're
asking
whole
that.
Thing.
Yes.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And then they present the situation, and then they leave themselves to the mercy of Redditors, which seems like a very interesting decision to make in your life.
Yeah.
And then the Redditors can either agree that you are, say that you are not, or there's a third option, which is called Everyone Sucks Here, or ESH.
Oh, okay. So, like, everyone involved in this story is at fault.
Yes, because sometimes there are stories where it's like, yeah, the thing you did was bad, but the thing the other person did was also bad.
Gotcha.
And that is what this book is about.
Okay.
So, that is my rating.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm gonna give this book 1 Oprah's Choice Awards. Because it already got that.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I liked it.
Yeah.
So like I said, I would say if this is anyone's cup of tea, you know, like a weird Cinderella story where...
about divorce.
There's divorce and possible murder, then I would be like, this is for you.
Yeah.
So that's what I give it.
Cool. Oh, I was gonna say, here's my other recommendation that is related. I guess I should have put this in my rating, but whatever. Is that after I finished this book, I found this other book that has a eerily similar title and kind of similar premise, etc. Well, no. I mean, it's about divorce. That's how it's similar.
Yeah.
And it's not, and it's like a speculative fiction, so it's sci-fi though, but not fantasy.
Gotcha.
And that is my other recommendation, is that if you like this book, then read this book, and if you don't like this book, also read this book anyway. And it is called The Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey. And also, Michael, I want you to read this. Since I already read it, I don't want to do it for the podcast, but I think you should read it and just tell me what you think on your own.
Okay.
And it's kind of, it's similar in that it's about divorce, but very different in that the husband actually does get murdered.
Oh.
But the situation is there's,
different.
It's different. Gotcha. Anyway, this book I was kind of like sad that I found this later, because I'm like, oh, I like this book a lot more, and I would have really enjoyed talking about it. Yeah, we should have done that, but it was too late. So yeah, The Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey. Really good. I've read some of their other books, and they are just like a really good writer. So I think we should do one on the podcast sometime.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, so that's my plug. What are we doing next month, Michael?
So for January, the book that we are reading, we're starting off 2022. Please help us fix what we're calling 2022. I still don't like it. We are reading a book called 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. Have you already started it?
I have, yeah. And I have it here. We should take a picture with it so we can put it on our Instagram of us holding it.
Yes. I've already started reading it. I am interested to see where it goes. I like it, so hopefully it's good.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I just realized this is our last podcast for the year.
It is.
Should we do some kind of end of year wrap up? I mean, like not too long though, but like maybe like our favorite book that we read. I mean, we all know we all know what our least favorite book was this year.
Wait, do we? What was your least favorite book?
Well, actually, it was the.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel
I'm
like
not sure if we do know.
Okay. Well, I mean, I just thought it was gonna be the Honey Badger one. I know that was yours.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, okay, let me think about it. Anyway, let's talk about our favorites, though. Yeah. And we also only read 5 books this year because we started this podcast in July.
Did we really? I feel like we've been doing this for a million years. Do you feel that way?
Yes and no.
Yeah, my least favorite book of the year was Hot and Badgered by far. What was your least favorite?
I mean,
because I know you didn't like The Once and Future Witches.
I did not really like that book very much. I guess I'm gonna say it was that one because I think with Hot and Badgered I was not expecting it to be very good, and I was like, well,
yeah,
dead dove do not eat, you know?
Yeah.
So I wasn't. Whereas, like, Once in Future Witches, I was like, okay, this is an interesting premise, and then I just didn't really like the writing very much, and, like, I don't know. You can listen to that episode if you want to hear my thoughts on it. So I guess that's what I would say.
What was your favorite book?
I mean, I'm gonna not count House of the Spirits because that is my most favorite book of all time, and, yeah, so that one wins. But I actually think my favorite was probably still, the Southern Ladies Book Club. I already did it wrong. The Southern Book Club's Vampire Guide to Murder. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I think I got it. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. You know, I'm looking through all the ones that we read, and I'm gonna say, that was my favorite as well.
Yeah, that book's really good.
So, Book of the Year 2021.
Woo!
Official Rowdy Book Club pick. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Whew.
Yeah, I think that one also wins the award for, like, least title that we can pronounce.
We can't even say that right.
Yeah.
If y'all have recommendations, can I request this?
Sure, you can do it.
If y'all have recommendations for 2022 and you're like, please read this book, let us know.
Yeah, definitely.
Instagram DM us. Is that the best way for them to say that?
Yeah, or I guess if you know us personally.
Or if you know us personally.
Or leave a comment on our YouTube.
Oh my gosh, you have so many, like, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, so just do whatever feels right in your heart and soul.
Yeah, but let us know if you have a book that you want us to read. We'd love to do it. But okay, listen. Please no more Honey Badger ones.
No more Honey Badgers.
Like, they can be kind of bad, but not that bad.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. Okay, cool. Well, remember, climate change is coming for us all.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.